Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I am Surbhi Sardana and I will be taking this daily answer writing initiative from Monday to Friday at 9 pm. If you are new to this initiative, you can download the detailed timetable for this initiative from the description below. Here we discuss UPSC Civil Services mains mock questions or previous year questions, and we learn how to build answers for them step by step. If you are a state civil services aspirant, then stay tuned because this initiative will be of immense benefit for you as well. Today is day 15 of Seize the Mains, and let's see what is our topic for the day. The topic for today is from GS paper 3 and it is inclusive growth and issues arising from it. Now I'll be displaying the question, but before that make sure that you have a pen and a paper with you. As you see the question on the screen, note down your own points, build your own structure for your answer. Just decide for yourself whether you will be including any data or diagrams in your answer, and then turn the video on again to see how your answer matches with ours and what all you can incorporate in your answer writing from this discussion. So without further ado, let me display the question. The question for the day is, what is inclusive growth? Discuss the challenges associated with it in the light of India's experience. This answer has to be answered in 250 words and it will fetch you 15 marks. Now, since this is a what question, this is a very simple type of question because you directly have to address the definition of inclusive growth for the first part. And you have to discuss about the challenges associated with inclusive growth in India in the light of India's experience. So not about global challenges, but the challenges that India faces in its inclusive growth story. So the second part will discuss about the challenges. As there has been no division of marks mentioned here in this question, so we don't know whether the first part is for 5 marks and the second is for 10 marks or anything like that. So what we'll do is, we'll give an elaborated answer to our first part, and keeping in mind the word limit, we'll elaborate the challenges a little more because this is the main part of the question. So let's see how we'll start answering this question. Let's see what is the meaning of inclusive growth and what all points can we incorporate in our answer. So here in our introduction, we have taken a very unique definition that is given by United Nations Development Programme exclusively for inclusive growth. This definition incorporates the concept of including all sections of society in the growth story, and whatever the benefits are coming out from the development of the society, they should be equitably distributed in all sections of society. Means all the people should be included in the input and all people should be getting benefit from the output of the development. So this is a very different definition from what we regularly see. There are at least 5 to 10 definitions that you can officially find for inclusive growth. You can also read these definitions and build one of your own and use them in your answer. So let's see what is the definition we have here. According to United Nations Development Programme (UNDP), inclusive growth is the process and the outcome where all groups of people have participated in the organization of growth and have benefited equitably from it. This implies that inclusive growth should include all sections as beneficiaries as well as partners in growth, and that inclusion of the excluded should be embedded in the growth process. So mostly when we learn about inclusive growth, we just learn about distributing the benefits of development to the poor sections or the deprived sections of society, but this definition talks about their relevance also, that they should be feeling relevant, so they should be included in the development and not just be taking rights on the whatever development is taking place. So this is a very unique definition. Make sure that you can imbibe similar definitions in your own answers or understand this from mains point of view. Moving on to the next part, we'll also elaborate what are the components or elements of inclusive growth. Here we have used a diagram This figure is directly from Google Images. You can find a lot more images on inclusive growth, on elements of inclusive growth from Google Images. If you find that drawing this part, drawing this kind of figure is tough because it contains of many divisions, so you can always use a simple diagrammatic representation of this type. Just write down what are the elements of inclusive growth in the center and write all the elements on the lines, on the arrows that are there. So these are the elements of inclusive growth. If you have a diagrammatic representation, it makes the answer very readable for the examiner. So let's see what are the elements of inclusive growth. Employment generation first, because more and more jobs create free flowing money in the hands of people, and then social upliftment can take place, economic growth take place more. Women empowerment, or you can use a more modern concept of empowerment of all genders. Don't just restrict it to women empowerment, empowerment of all genders. Good governance, skill building. Yes, because there is a mismatch between the kind of jobs available and between the skills that people possess. Equality of opportunity, poverty reduction, social sector development, agricultural development, reduction in regional disparities. All these are the elements or the components of inclusive growth. By that we understand that if these are achieved, if these are improved, then the growth in the society, the development story will be equitable, it will be inclusive. So this part is very simple, you just have to list down the points here. Moving on to the next part, which is about challenges. So you might think that elements of inclusive growth or challenges associated to inclusive growth, these are like very long lists. But what you can do is, whatever these elements that you are writing here, draw out challenges from these only. For example, the first component talks about employment generation. So employment generation is an element of inclusive growth, and it is also a challenge to inclusive growth, because we are not very successful in employment generation as of date. So use the similar points, use these same points in a paraphrased format as your challenges in the answer. So let's begin by writing and elaborating on challenges in 250 words. But before that, here we have the linkage point for our answer, that how we'll turn the direction of our answer towards the body paragraph. So let me read this out for you. Broadly, there are the following challenges associated with inclusive growth with regards to India. So now you have given the prelude to your body paragraph. Now you can begin writing whatever is there in your mind. So here about challenges, we'll be addressing challenges in point format. See, whatever the things you can address in the form of points, that is the best way to go for an answer. In fact, here we have written points for the challenges. You can also elaborate these points by not using paragraphs. Instead, just use your title here. And whatever is the meaning of this paragraph number 1, for example, you use poverty alleviation as your title. So if there are 3 subpoints to poverty alleviation, instead of using full sentences, just use this representative diagram and note down, just write down 6 to 7 words, whatever concern poverty alleviation in India, whatever as the challenges associated, how you want to define it. This format has been seen in many of your answers that you are sending to us, and this is very readable and it conveys more information to the examiner. In fact, if you use any data or any official report from the government or United Nations, it becomes very easy for the examiner to know that yes, you know about it, and he gets to know that you have read entirely, you understand the concept very much properly. So paragraphs are not very readable for the examiner, they're not good to the eye. But if you are somebody who expresses himself or herself better in form of a paragraph, so just don't worry about that. write down the paragraph. We also have used the paragraph format here, but make sure that you underline the important words. For example, I can see here some 19.3% is the data. So make sure that you underline these points. Here in the end line we've used some ranking. So make sure that you underline this. Okay. So underline the keywords if you're going for paragraph format. Just don't focus on answering, just don't focus on writing the answer, because you also have to make it presentable for the examiner so that he's motivated enough to read your answer. About poverty alleviation, India has different types of poverty. There is a economic poverty, there is a non-access to basic food, shelter, healthcare facilities or sanitation. This is multiple types of poverty India goes through, and we have uplifted millions of people out of poverty, but due to our population, the subset, the base set is so large that there are still so many people, millions of people who are below the poverty line, who do not have access to basic services. So let's see what this poverty alleviation title has to say. Despite the massive gains, 373 million Indians continue to experience acute deprivations. Additionally, 8.8% of the population lives in severe multidimensional poverty, and 19.3% of the population are vulnerable to multidimensional poverty. Malnutrition among the children is highly prevalent. India ranks 101 in Global Hunger Index of 116 countries. So malnutrition is a prevailing problem in India. It starts right from childhood because the services for the mother care are not available, the care of mother are not available, and the children who are newborn are not adequately fed. So we are ranked very badly on international indices like the Global Hunger Index or Multidimensional Poverty Index. So things like that keep on happening. They deteriorate image of India as a country, and they are a big hurdle for inclusive growth in India. So this is the first challenge. The second challenge talks about unemployment and underemployment. See, whenever you are writing your answers, don't just write that there is lack of jobs or there is unemployment. Also use the term underemployment. We all study about underemployment in our economics textbooks. We all know what it is. So learn to club this term with unemployment from now onwards, because unemployment, lack of jobs is not the only problem. People in wrong kind of jobs which do not match their skills or where they're not even required, like it could the work could be done even if you take out 5 to 10 people from that area, for example agriculture. So that is also a cause of concern, that there is hidden employment, hidden kind of unemployment there, and the quality of jobs is not, there is a mismatch between quality of jobs and expectations of people if we look at the hard work they have put in. So the second point is about unemployment and underemployment. Let's read this out. The quality of unemployment is a problem, as more than 80% of people work in the informal sector without any social security. So in fact almost 90% of the people are employed in informal sector in India. Around 90%. It's more than, like when we write here more than 80%, the exact figure is somewhere around 90%. The rest of the 10% who are in formal jobs are working either for corporates or they are working for the government sector. So there are only 10% people who have social security like pension benefits, healthcare benefits or insurance attached to their jobs. So almost more than 80 or around 90% of the people do not have that, because they work for the informal sector. Also, when you're writing any statistics related to employment or unemployment, make sure that whatever is the latest periodic labor force survey data before your mains exam, or in fact even for your prelims, make sure that you note down the key points from there. What is the level of unemployment in India? What has been the trends of employment in the past decade? How has the employment rate of women changed over time? So make sure you add all of that, and here I've written it in the bracket also, that add the latest data from PLFS. So the quality we've talked about: low investment, low capital utilization in industry and low agricultural growth lead to low job growth. We moved from an agricultural economy to a service sector based economy. There was no industrial revolution that took place in India, so we have this problem of unemployment, all these developing countries, because we missed the industrial growth part, industrial revolution part. So employment and skills mismatch is always there, and availability of jobs is always very low. Also, there is a mismatch between the jobs available and skills of workforce, just what we talked about. Moving on to the third point, social and regional disparities. See, India is a status based society, so the opportunities that are available to different sections of society, different classes in the society, different castes, they also are directly dependent or inversely proportional to the rung of status ladder where a person stands. So that's a very huge problem. There are gender issues prevailing, there are caste issues prevailing, and we have address them to a very great extent thanks to globalization and development, but still most of the people suffer through it in their daily lives. That kind of discrimination is there, and not just discrimination, availability of opportunity, the judgment that goes behind providing an opportunity to somebody is directly dependent on this. So India is a status based society, and hence factors like the caste system, gap between urban and rural people, rich and poor, etc. contribute to the disparities, which create a system where some specific groups hold more privileges over others. Social indicators are much lower for OBCs, SCs, STs and Muslims. The percentage of women employed in urban areas has significantly reduced over the past decades. If you refer to the latest periodic labor force survey, you will know that there were more women employed in urban areas few decades back as compared to the number of women who are employed now, or the percentage of women in urban areas, not even rural areas. In urban areas, the employment rate of women has decreased. So this is a very surprising data, and it shows that how social and regional disparities are a hurdle for the inclusive growth story of India. Also, talking about regional disparities, just add from your side that a person who is born in Kerala has a higher chance of receiving good school education as compared to somebody who's born in Bihar or places like that. And you can also draw a comparison between states which are agricultural, for example North Indian states, as compared to the states which are drought prone or famine prone. So hunger and malnutrition levels are very different when you compare these two types of states. So regional disparities come there not just in terms of economic growth, but also in terms of education, healthcare, the kind of food that is available and things like that. The fourth is overpopulation. See, even if you bring more and more people above the poverty line, the resources that you have, land, water, air, they are limited. They are not ever increasing. So how do you provide for the resources that these people need? And if you are not able to provide for the resources that these newly emerged people or newly socially uplifted people require, if we are not able to provide for them, then at the end of the day, they end up being deprived again because our resources are limited. So overpopulation is a major cause of concern in India, and though we have national population policy, but we do not have strict measures to check population growth even in 2022. And this is one of the biggest problem of India, because resources are limited. We cannot provide for an ever increasing population. The quality of our resources is decreasing. We see land pollution, air pollution, so many types of pollutions, and the quality of life is reducing. In fact, in major cities like major urban centers of India, we have so many reports which prove that it is absolutely unsustainable to live a healthy life, to lead a healthy life in these urban cities. So overpopulation has to be talked about, and make sure that you elaborate on this one. Let's read this out. Overpopulation has created overburden on land, water and air, hence causing pollution and degradation of resource quality. Moving on to the next point. Backwardness of agriculture. So when we learnt about components of inclusive growth, we also included that agriculture development needs to take place. Why does it need to take place? Because majority of our population is directly dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. In fact, we also depend on the quality of food that is produced. Like the socially uplifted people also depend on the quality of agriculture, on the development of agriculture that is being carried out in the country. So since there are so many people who are directly dependent on agriculture, development of agriculture is very important. Like around 44% people are employed in agriculture or related jobs, like jobs related to agriculture, but the contribution of agriculture to our GDP is just around 16 to 17%, which is very low. Like and this data is very important for all the three sectors. For the primary, secondary and tertiary sector, for the agriculture, industry and services sector, you should know the data, that how much people they are employing, what percentage of workforce every sector is employment and contribution to GDP. These two data will be very important for your exams, not only from prelims point of view, but also you'll have to use them in your economy answers, because that will fetch you more marks when you add data. And if you are a state civil services aspirant or somebody who's going for UPSC interview, then you should have this data ready. You should memorize it even for your like state civil services exam, prelims, mains interview or your UPSC interview. Like the data from your state, like what percentage of the population of your state finds employment in agriculture sector and what is the contribution of agriculture or horticulture to the GDP. So backwardness of agriculture is a major backlog. Let's read this out. Around 44% of people in India have agriculture related employment, but its contribution to the Indian GDP is only 16.5%, which leads to widespread poverty. Declining per capita land availability, a slow reduction in the share of employment, low labor productivity, decline in agriculture yield due to climate change, land degradation and unavailability of water are the issues that need to be addressed in agriculture. So these are all the challenges. This is the major challenge. Again, you can use this type of answer approach, that write agriculture above and then write down 1, 2, 3 challenges associated with it, and also you can give the data points here, that why improvement in agriculture, development in agriculture is important. So this was about it. This was about agriculture. Moving on to economic growth. See, there is a trickle down effect, trickle down theory of economic growth. It says that if there is somebody, if rich people are getting richer, then this money will go to the poorer people also in the long run, or the middle class also. If their share of money grows, their share of money will also grow, and poor people will also have more money in their hands, or more economic growth will happen for the poor people also. This theory is very much true, but as resources are limited, as these times are engulfed in the crisis which we already saw, there was already very less economic growth taking place, then we were hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. So this trickle down theory becomes ineffective in these times. Instead, what happens is that it is the lower rungs, people who are very poor or lower middle class people, who suffer the most in times of crisis. So economic growth has to be ensured, and there has to be equitable economic growth so that everybody benefits from it. Otherwise, we cannot have an inclusive society. So the trickle down effects of prosperity aren't apparent in India. Social mobility is very hard for most of the people. In times of crisis, it's the people at lower rungs of development that suffer the most. So these were 6 broad challenges to economic growth in India. Here we have used a lot of data and reports to make our points strong. Make sure that you add more data and add more points from your side when you are writing your own answer. Inclusive growth is a very common topic. It is a separate topic in the syllabus. And whenever you find an answer, questions practicing for these type of general questions will definitely help you in one way or the other. The examiner might ask you, the question paper might ask you question regarding inclusive growth from a particular area, for like a mainly a current affairs based question. But if you have these points in mind, this kind of data in mind, these kind of reports in mind that you will be using, and the structure that you will be making around it, you will be easily able to score very high marks in your answers from this part of the syllabus, no matter what question is being asked. So moving on to the conclusion. In our conclusion, what we do is we give a farewell to the answer we just wrote, and we give a farewell by appreciating. So we appreciate the question that has been asked, not by saying that, okay, dear examiner, this is a very good question, that's a funny thing to say, but by appreciating the subject, what has been talked about in the question. We say that why is the subject that is being asked in the question so important. For example, this question was about inclusive growth, so we start by praising it, that why inclusive growth is significant in India, and rightly so, we must address this on time. So let me read this out for you. Inclusive growth is a prerequisite for development which can contribute to improved livelihoods for people. Indian government, along with the state government and local governments, should continue to focus on eradicating poverty and achieving sustainable development in order to improve the lives of the people. Through innovative partnerships with international organizations, civil society groups and private companies, inclusive and equitable growth can be targeted. So even if you have read the syllabus of UPSC mains properly, you can easily get very good keywords for framing at least this part of the this part of the conclusion. This is exactly taken from your syllabus, the keywords from your syllabus. So that's how you address it. Coming to the last paragraph, there is one homework for you if you have not already done it. Whatever the sustainable development goals are there, the 17 sustainable development goals, just note down their titles according to the number, and this will not only help you in your prelims, that there might be a question from sustainable development goals in prelims, but when you write mains answers for society, for environment, for inclusive growth, areas like these, so this will help you. You can quote directly the sustainable development goal associated with that part of your syllabus in your mains answers, and once you quote them, your answer gets a major boost, that yes, the examiner is motivated to award you more marks. So here we relate sustainable development goal with inclusive growth. Let us see how have we used this. These steps will help us to achieve sustainable development goal 8, separated by a dash, which is promoting sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. So this is sustainable development goal 8. By addressing the above challenges, by keeping all the components of inclusive growth in mind, we can achieve sustainable development goal 8. So this is a very nice way to conclude your answers. Also, you can, if you have some words left, you can talk about the policies of government for financial inclusion, for social upliftment, for skill development, for employment generation. Always when you are preparing for prelims, go through the policies in detail. When you are preparing for mains, prepare some of the policies which are in current affairs for the past 2 to 3 years, and rest all of the policies can be just used as names, as examples in your mains answers. So if you have some policies which you think that you should be incorporating in your answer, that this is for financial inclusion, this step of government of India, and you liked it a lot, or something carried out by your state government, use that as an example in your conclusions or body paragraphs wherever it fits. So that will automatically give you more marks, more marks would be awarded by the examiner to you. So this was about today's answer. We hope that this initiative is benefiting you. For those students who are very regular in sending their answers, we are very happy that the quality of answers that you are writing is improving over time. We have memorized few of the names, and we are giving very positive feedback to you now. We are also giving feedbacks that with feedbacks like that there are no errors in this question. So that is the level that students have reached in a matter of 14-15 days. So we are very happy to see that. If you want any improvements in the course, make sure that you write it in the comment section below. We go through all the comments. Make sure that your comments are of academic nature, because this is about UPSC and State Civil Services preparation. This is not a social media account. Make sure that your comments are very academic and they help fellow aspirants or our team to improve our services. So it's a goodbye for today, and you can write your own answers and mail them to us at rmiasmainswriting@gmail.com. If you're watching this for the first time, let me tell you that this is a 90-day initiative. We'll stop for prelims break, but the timetable till March 17 and is available in the description below, and beyond that we'll be uploading that the timetable for beyond March 17 very soon. Share your answers to us, send your answers to us on this email ID in PDF format only, and by 12 PM tomorrow, which is March 1, 2022. And you can download the PDF for this presentation for today's discussion from our Telegram channel or from the description below. So let's see you tomorrow. It's not Mondays, but it is Tuesday's topic. There's an error here. It is from GS4, Contributions of Moral Thinkers and Philosophers from India and the World. So we'll meet with this topic tomorrow. I hope that the question from this area would be very interesting for you, and you will get a level playing field to write down your own experiences, what you have learned from the local philosophers of your area and from the philosophers and thinkers mentioned in UPSC. We learn during UPSC preparation. So meet you with another question and answer discussion tomorrow. All the best. Keep working hard.